Those you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that I'm normally positive, but today, let's get negative. Let's talk about what would have to happen for Texas A&M to be overrated.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, at the tail end, I'm ready. I'm pressing the panic button concerned on the baseball team. We're going to talk about that. In segment 2, we're talking about the upset over the number 1 Auburn Tigers. Massive win to send out these seniors. It just celebrate Wade Taylor. Huge win. First in program history over number 1. Helps your seeding out as well. Very exciting. We'll break it down in segment 2. But what I want to start the show talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, is a topic I was just, a lot of the time I sit and think about these topics and stuff just hits me at random times. In the shower, as I'm kind of waking up, as I'm falling asleep. And this was one that just hit me, and I'm like, those of you everydayers know, I'm positive 99% of the time. Unless I have to be negative. There's something that I just have to be negative. So today, I'm going to force myself to look at Texas A&M football, the outlook for this upcoming season, in a negative light. And we're going to look at it, we're going to say, what would have to happen for Texas A&M to not succeed this year? Which, we just talked to, I talked to Zach Blackerby, and those of you that heard on our show yesterday, talked about basketball. And those of you that listened to that heard that the win total for the football team set at 7.5. I was a little surprised by that. I figured it was going to be set at 8.5. I understand that, it was 8.5 last year and the schedule was a lot tougher, a lot easier last year than it is this year. But I don't know. I thought they were going to assume Texas A&M takes that step. I mean, I'd feel pretty darn good about Texas A&M winning 8 football games this year. But that's beside the point. So if we want to look on how could this crash and burn? How could this go negatively? To me, it's very simple. I think that we're making, in predicting Texas A&M to have a good season, we're making a lot of assumptions that we don't yet know the answers to, which is true of every football team in college football. Every team has the assumptions. I mean, all the good teams. At Florida, you're just talking about some Texas A&M opponents. Florida, you're anticipating DJ Lagway taking that step from great freshman to, absolute star Heisman candidate. I guess over at Auburn, you're hoping that Jackson Arnold's a good quarterback. Because your season's dependent on that. At Texas, I know a lot of these are quarterback oriented. There's obviously other points, but at Texas, you need Arch Manning to live up to the last name. And for the Aggies, I think that there's the things that you need to prove. There's a handful, and we're going to run through some of them. The first thing you have to prove, and I've talked about the importance of this, it is the play of Marcel Reed, as it is going to be with any team. Any college football team, you need good play out of your quarterback. That would be the same for Texas A&M. They need good play out of Marcel Reed. I think all of us here in the Locked On Aggies community believe Marcel Reed is going to take that next step, but he still has some work to do. He has some things to overcome. He's got to improve as a passer, something that we've discussed a good amount here on the show. He has to take his game to the next level through the air. There's no question that Marcel Reed with his legs has a chance to be an absolutely dominant elite quarterback in this league and in college football. There's no question. We all know that. But he has to improve as a passer. The legs are there. As I just said, we know the legs are there. Is it there as a passer? And that's where I think everyone has a concern. Now, I've been in the camp that I think this Texas A&M football team can win 7, 8. 7 for sure. I think 8 football games. Just knowing who Marcel Reed is as a runner and what he already is as a passer. Now, if he develops into a good passer and takes that step to the next level, that's when we start to go, oh boy, Texas A&M could win 9, 10 football games this year, even with a tougher schedule that involves, those tough games that you played at home now becoming road games. So that is kind of where my head is at with the quarterback position. But I mean, there's other question marks that are I'm making in predicting Texas A&M to have a good season. You are making assumptions. Another one of those assumptions is this secondary is going to improve. I mean, the secondary for a couple years back to back now has really struggled and been an everyday issue for this football team. Every game issue. I think Missouri, I was really happy with Will Lee in some of the play of the corners. But I mean, there's a lot of games here where you go, gosh, if our corners could just play a little bit better, or our secondary, excuse me, not just the corners. Obviously, the safeties are involved in that as well. But if our secondary could just play a little bit better, this defense is unstoppable. And we're assuming that with the additions of Shaw and Humphrey, that is going to take that step to the next level. But it's an assumption. Still going to happen. You're also assuming that guys like DJ Hicks and Cassius Howell are going to help this defensive line have a good season. A defensive line that's losing Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner, 3 NFL draft picks. So, I mean, we're making assumptions about this Texas A&M football team. And if we're right on most of them, this team could win 9-10 football games. If we're wrong on most of them, this team could win 6 or 7 football games. That's reality. And that's why, as it is, I think for every middle of the pack SEC team, the ceiling and the floor is always going to be incredibly wide. I mean, for your teams, your Georgias and your Texases and your Bamas right now, and I think, Texas A&M's on that second level behind them, your Tennessees. I think that the ceiling is 12 wins, the floor is probably 10. That's the reality there. For a team like Texas A&M and some of these other teams on a tier, the Floridas, the Auburns, I think those type of teams that are kind of on that second level, but not down in the Mississippi State, level. I think that for those teams, there is such a wide gap between the ceiling and the floor. I think the ceiling for Texas A&M is probably, I'd say 10 is realistic. There's a lot of people that say 11. That say 10 is probably realistic. And I'd say the floor is probably 6 wins. And there's not a lot of teams that have, a 4-game gap in the ceiling and the floor. A lot of it's, 12-0, 10-2, or if you look at Mississippi State team, it's like their ceiling is probably 7-5 and their floor is 4-8. There's so between the top tier and the bottom tier, the ceiling and the floor is a wide gap. So this Texas A&M football team has an opportunity to be really special, but we are making assumptions that, these receivers that you brought in are going to be different from what we saw last year. Now obviously we all can agree that the talent on this, in this wide receiver room is much greater than it was last year. But once again, we made assumptions last year. We were making assumptions that this team, these receivers were going to be great, and they weren't. They didn't end up. Noah Thomas had a fine year, and obviously now he's gone. But your Cyrus Allens and Jabari Barbers. And I keep harping on these guys. I'm not trying to harp on them all the time. They did some good things. They had some good games. They had some great moments, but they weren't these elite, make your team dominant type of transfer portal receivers that we were hoping they would be. That's another assumption. So, I think the assumptions are the secondary is going to improve. You're going to have some players step up on your defensive line. Marcel Reed's going to take the steps to the next level. And then I would say probably the last one for me is the receivers are as dominant as we believe they can be. If you go 4-4, 3-4 there, Texas A&M's winning 10+ football games. If you go 1-3, 0-4, maybe even 2-2, that's when you get into the 6-6, 7-5, 8-4 range that Texas A&M does not want to be this year. Because we've talked about it. Texas A&M has got to start proving that they are a program that deserves to be discussed among the big time programs. And I think this is a prove it year for that statement. If Texas A&M wants to be considered a legit, year to year playoff contender type of team, which I think they've had the talent to do that for 5 years, and they've never done it. So if they want to get in that tier, which I'd say they're outside of right now, they have got to prove it with a lot of these different different facts. And that's why I'd say there is a world where Texas A&M is overrated. There's a world where and I think what it would take for Texas A&M to be overrated is for myself, and I think most of the folks looking at this team to be wrong about the assumptions that some of these position groups are going to take a step to the next level. That is where this team is either going to be great, not great, kind of take that jump. So that is my thought on it. Kind of wanted to start the day being a little negative. This could happen. Texas A&M could be overrated and go 7-5. It could happen, but they could also click and go 11-1 or 10-2. So I want to hear your thoughts on that argument. I'm sure a lot of folks will say, no, we're not overrated. We're great. We're going to win 22 football games this year. Like, I'm not trying to be, I hate to be negative. I'm just, being honest that there is a world where this possibility comes to fruition. So I thought I'd have that discussion this Wednesday morning for y'all. We're going to talk about the massive win for the Aggies over the Auburn Tigers. First win over number one team in Texas A&M basketball history. We'll break it down coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person, which is so nice. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. Once again, that's promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. The basketball team gets it done, ladies and gentlemen. And in all honesty, it was absolute demolition from start to finish. I mean, the Aggies were the better basketball team the whole night against the Auburn Tigers. And I'll tell you this, I saw, I think it was the Barstool Texas A&M account posted a picture of, the Buzz holding baby Bruce. And I mean, it's domination. I believe, they said the stat, I don't know if it's 6-2 all time or 6-2 at Texas A&M. I mean, I'm trying to think how many matchups they had, but point is, he was 5-2. Now Buzz, I guess, is 6-2 against Bruce. His style of play, and it's something I said, I mean, I was concerned. Texas A&M was going into this game on a 4-game losing streak. They were going into this game not shooting the ball well from the field. Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps were struggling efficiency-wise. This team was in a tough spot where it felt like, man, you just lose this game, you're going to continue to spiral out of control. But, I mean, at the end of the day, against all odds, the Aggies get it done at home to celebrate the seniors in the final game at home of the season. A big game from Wade Taylor, 5 of 15, 3 of 17. I mean, that's, he's closer there. Hey, he's that was his best, a 33% field goal. I mean, he's over that mark. He hadn't been over 31% in a while. But he also, played well. What I loved about this game from Wade Taylor was he got it going in the second half. Texas A&M had a 6-point lead at the half, and it felt like in the first half, Texas A&M threw everything but the kitchen sink at Auburn, and Auburn played a terrible half. And you go, man, we're only up 6 points. And it felt like Bruce was going to go get on his team at the half, and Auburn was going to come out and respond. But no, Wade Taylor heats up in the second half, and Texas A&M gets the job done. I mean, one of your better shooting performances from three in a while. You go 9-25, shoot 36%. But once again, the dominance and the beauty. And I mean, once again, those of you that those of you that listen to Locked On Aggies on a day-to-day basis, you ever dares, and those of you that hear me talk about this basketball team know that I have issues with the offense at times. I do think it's too much of an isolation offense. I think it's too much one-dimensional. And yes, I know that you've got the rebounding and all that, but I just think Texas A&M could be a top 10 team every single year, knowing what they do on defense and on the boards, if they could find a more, efficient way to play offense. But at the end of the day, what happened last night is why Texas A&M can win basketball games. There were some ugly shots and some silly mistakes and some shots you go, what are we doing? But I mean, my goodness, they got a million offensive rebounds in this game. It was literally, let's see, it was the offensive rebounds. Texas A&M had 24 offensive rebounds to Auburn's 9. And at one point that had turned into 20 points, and that was with a little bit left in the game. So it was, they had over 20 second chance points in this game. They manhandled, as Bruce Pearl said after the game, Auburn in every aspect of the game. That Texas A&M team, if they show up, they can make a run in the tournament. And you still haven't even had a recent, you're going to have a game or two in March where we're in one of the postseason tournaments where Wade Taylor has his, 13 for 17 from the field game and gives you 34 points. That's still coming. He hasn't really, done that a ton. So, I was just so proud of this team. This Auburn team, and they just came off celebrating an SEC championship. They just beat Kentucky. They beat the crap out of Kentucky in Rupp Arena. And Texas A&M just finds a way to absolutely dominate the Auburn Tigers in every way, shape, or form. So I was really proud of this team. Let's go take a look at the KenPom numbers now that this game is over. Texas A&M is 20 in KenPom. The defense is 9th. The offense is 39th. So that's an improvement. The defense is moving in the right direction. And then the net ranking, how many quad ones do we have now? Texas A&M is 20 in the net ranking. You're 500 in quad 1, 7-7. The road game against LSU, I actually don't. There's nothing scarier than a road game that's not a quad 1 game. I believe LSU is the only team outside of that range. Yeah, they're 84. The South Carolina is as well. So the road game against LSU is not a quad 1 opportunity, which is, it's kind of like, and we're getting ready to talk about baseball, but that's kind of like a game where it's a road game. It's like, to me, a midweek baseball game against, when you get close to the tournament, when you're hoping to host a regional, and you play a random team that if you win, it does nothing, but if you lose, it could kill you. That's what this game feels like. You're going to play an LSU team that is really, I watched them last night against Kentucky before the Aggies played Auburn. They're awful. They're terrible. They're a terrible basketball team. And, but if you go on the road and lose to them, it can hurt your seeding. So can't lose that quad 2 game. Got to go on the road and finish strong. Get your 22nd win of the season. But you get Manny Obaski gives you an efficient 4 or 6 for 10 points and 2 3-pointers. Andy Garcia makes both his 3-pointers and scores 11 points in this game, 11 and 11, double in this one. Then Zurich Phelps, 6, 16, 19 points. It was just an absolutely dominant game. You get 5 offensive boards from Garcia, 4 from Coleman, 6 from Washington, as Washington does. Washington scored 1 point in this game, and that shows you how valuable he is to this team. He scores 1 point in this game, but he gives you 5 rebounds, 6 of them were offensive rebounds, and it felt like every time he got an offensive rebound, it turned into a second chance point. So, it was just absolutely beautiful watching him on the glass. And once again, just so proud of this basketball team. I don't think anybody felt great about the Aggies' chances. I didn't feel good about it. But Texas A&M comes in and against all odds gets the job done. Proud of this team. They beat a really good basketball team. And once again, I think they dominated Auburn. Really, it wasn't like this was close. So Proud of this team. That's going to help you when it comes to seeding for the SEC tournament. It's going to help you when it comes to seeding in the NCAA tournament. Big time win for Buzz Williams' team. Proud of this team, excited for this program. And it was great to see this basketball team get to celebrate after the game and Wade Taylor's jersey go up into the rafters. I mean, just a special moment for this basketball team. So very, very proud. Now, it's funny. I saw someone, I think it was the Barstool account, texting a Barstool. As fun as it is to sit and talk about this huge win over the number one team in college basketball, the flip side of this is we now have to talk about the ugly loss to UTSA on the diamond. I mean, this is just, it's rough. We're going to talk about it. Baseball team, panic button. I'm pressing it. I'll tell you why coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. So while the Aggies were playing host to the Auburn Tigers and winning this big-time upset basketball game, the baseball team was losing at home to UTSA. Now, solid UTSA team. They're 12-3 on the year so far. But once again, I mean, we shouldn't be saying, well, you lost to a good UTSA team. No, I mean, like, I think they're a solid team, but I mean, with 5 darn errors in this baseball game. So, UTSA scores 7 runs. So you out-hit UTSA 8-6 in this game. They outscore you 7-4. How many of the runs were unearned? Let's see. I mean, they have to be. Yeah. So UTSA only had 5 earned runs in this game. They scored 7. So 2 unearned runs. You get an error from Hensler. You get 2 errors from Cash. I mean, it's going from bad to worse for this baseball team. And I'm getting more and more and more concerned as every single day goes by. I mean, they're 6-5. This team's not at the point where it's like you can sit here and say, okay, we lost 2 ugly games in a row, but it's all right. We're what would that make us? 9-2, right? We're 9-2. We've lost 2 ugly games. They're 6-5, and they're not losing to. I mean, these are not losses to top 10 teams. I mean, these are ugly losses. This baseball team has absolutely got to dial this stuff in. I mean, I'm just telling y'all this. I'm worried about this baseball team. Y'all heard me say it yesterday or two days ago. 2 days ago. Yesterday was basketball. Y'all heard me say it 2 days ago. I was close to press the panic button on this team. Once again, baseball. I mean, this is my thing. Baseball is my thing, and I watch this team every night, and I'm concerned. I'm not seeing it, and that's scary. Because I was expecting you can lose baseball games and still see it. I'm not seeing it. I mean, you're giving up free bases. You're getting 8. You're only getting 8 hits. I mean, how many strikeouts did we have in this game? It was a significant amount, if I remember right. Oh, no, it was only 4. Why did it feel like a lot more than 4? I mean, I feel like when you lose, it always feels like more. I mean, heck, we had like a couple multiples. We've had lots of 10-plus strikeout games this year. So at least you're putting the ball in play. I do like to see that. But I mean, the errors, the free bases, the not getting the opportune hits. There's struggles with this baseball team. And is it over? No. I mean, are we packing the season in? No, we're not. Am I very concerned? Yes. There's a lot to figure out with this team, and we just got to continue to hope they figure it out, because if not, I mean, this could get ugly quickly for the preseason number 1 baseball team. So really concerned about that. Leave comments on the baseball team in the YouTube comments. I want to hear y'all's thoughts. We can talk about it. I'm concerned, and I think that y'all are trying to get the same way that I am there. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. I really, really do appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day today, and we will see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Aggies.